Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Ellie Lee.
And I'm Danny Morley.
And today we're diving into the graduation of Danny Morley. You are officially an MSU certified coach. It's been 6 months of a lot of growth, expansion, healing, a lot of knowledge and wisdom. Now that you are standing here with a diploma as a certified coach, because I know this is something that you wanted to do and achieve on your list for a long time of becoming a coach and helping others. So what does it feel like to be here right now as a coach?
Well, honestly, it doesn't really feel too much different. And that's because this journey was all about the work that has been done throughout the last 6 months. It's not about earning this piece of paper. So when I saw it, it was cool. This morning when I opened up my email and you saw the digital thing, and yeah, it was cool, but the real work goes inside. And so this external piece of paper or digital certificate doesn't really mean anything, but what does mean something is all the growth that I've got over the last 6 months and everything that I've learned. So yeah, it means a lot, but at the same time it's like it's not the actual thing that means a lot. It's what I've learned in the journey to get to where I'm at now. That's the thing that really stands out and really is why I invested so much time and energy and money into this certification.
Okay, so let's talk about Danny before MSU and Danny now in this moment, and what has been the most what's been the hardest growing pains, the most painful growing pains, and who are you now as you've been doing this work very every day, so you've put in the work. So what does it feel like to be here right now as you, and who are you before?
You're basically asking like what big wounds have I worked through. So the biggest wounds that I've encountered were mainly around the emotional trauma of my mother leaving when I was about 6, and that was this singular point in my life that all these negative programs of fear, abandonment, powerlessness is a really big theme in my journey, and especially as a coach. Like I was struggling to connect to my own power, and so like these are the big wounds and the big hurdles that I've had to overcome. And what we learn here at MSU is to go into the pain and grow our light and shine it in the darkness that's there. So it's been a lot getting through the abandonment, but ultimately Emily was just talking about this today in another podcast, that on the other side of pain there is a lot of beauty, and that's exactly what it is. So these painful wounds that we carry, once we're able to get into the pain, the other side of that is bliss. The other side of that is spaciousness, is expansion. So I wouldn't have it any other way by any means. That's not what I'm saying, but they've been the main ones. Is kind of like abandonment, this fear of being lonely, fear of being alone, fear of not being myself. A few things that I was carrying a lot of shame for, part of my shadow that I'd not fully acknowledged. So that was a big part of getting in there and actually seeing it. And there, I'm not a polished diamond right now. There's still, I can feel a couple, like I think maybe 2 more big parts of my healing that I haven't fully got to. But a lot of healing around self-acceptance, acceptance of others, and then judgment. I used to be extremely judgmental. It would come out all the time. I'd hear the mental chatter, the mental programs running, casting judgment on others. The thing that I realized one day was that I judge other people to make them feel small, because I feel small inside. And while I might, do all this work in the gym to feel more physically powerful, a lot of the energy behind that was this energy of feeling small, and helpless and hopeless and out of control. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what I've been working through over the last 6 months. And yeah, I can't wait to like keep working on it. And as you said, it's a day by day thing. Things pop up, we get triggered, and that trigger is a window into our pain. So this work never truly ends, but I have seen a huge transformation in where I started to where I am now in terms of the wounds that show up and the ability and the depth I'm able to go into those wounds. When I first started, I would drop into my heart and there would be just a lot of sadness. And now whenever I'm triggered, I feel like I'm more, I can more skillfully get straight into the pain. So instead of it just being like a sadness, like feels very like surface level sadness, which needed to come up and be felt and be alchemized and transmuted ultimately. Now I'm able to go like even deeper into that and be like, okay, what wound is this? What pain is this? And it's only from us as coaches doing that work that we're able to then bring a different level of energy and spaciousness and power to our clients. So my journey has been very much focused on me, and I'm looking forward to now learning more of the skill, like really honing in on the skills of being a really good coach, and helping my clients get to where I feel like I've been. And so that's my next chapter is really sharpening that blade of my ability to slice into people's wounds. But I feel like I've very effectively learned how to do that myself.
The coaching certification MSU, it's the first 3 months are us healing. Because how can we help anybody else heal if we're walking around with all of our wounds and things like that? And so we've had, I've seen and witnessed tremendous transformations within myself, within my classmates, and within you, Danny. You and I became friends just in February, but I feel like there was, major moments for you in healing and coming back to yourself. And I've seen you expand. I've seen you grow your power. Do you want to talk about probably the most significant moment you've had in the 6 months? Because I can think of your most significant moment. I don't know if that's yours, but I would love for you to talk about an experience you had and how you got to this place of bliss, because you really experienced bliss. I mean, I saw it. And so can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. Oh, let me just switch. There we go. Well, there was two really major times. So I'll start with the first one. The first one was probably sometime in early February, January, and I was doing the heart meditation, if you call it that, where you go in and you open. And I noticed I was really focusing a lot on my breath and my breath. And so I brought it up to Rachel, and she kind of advised me to let go of the breath. And what we teach here is we get rid of all of the coping mechanisms, including even if it's just breath work. And so we still obviously were aware of the breath when we're dropping in, but instead of coming from a place of force, and like I was doing more circular breathing, and that was keeping me trapped in thinking about the breath and the breath and the breath. And it was taking me to a place, but it wasn't taking me to where I really wanted to go. So when I was fully able to surrender and just open, is what she was talking about, to just go in and open my heart, it felt like the universe, God, source, whatever you want, just came around me very warm blanket and just wrapped me up in love. It was the first time in my life that I've ever felt that love from from inside of myself. It really felt like the only thing I could ever compare it to was the warm embrace that my mother gave me when I was a child. And yeah, that's what it felt like. It was this unconditional love. I've never felt it before like that, from just going within. And so that was like the first really big moment that I was like, wow, there really is so much more to this, and this work can take you deeper. But then I kind of got, I think, a little bit what's the word? I want to say obsessed, but I was searching for that outcome constantly because I knew it was possible. So every time I sat down, I was like in hopes and an expectation that I might get there. So then it was a challenge of learning how to let go of that. That experience, because while it was amazing and blissful and really loving and truly psychedelic, it then put something in my mind, which this whole work, the magic happens when you're out of your mind. So I had to then relearn how to get out of my mind, and it was a journey. But it wasn't really until I addressed this part of my shadow, that something that I was keeping like within me, not willing to look at, that as soon as I started looking at that and really talking about it with you and sharing it with people, that then the real transformation could start, because I was honestly looking at all of myself, and I was honestly looking at all of myself with love. And so when that happened, then a fragment, and it sounds crazy to say, but a fragment of my soul came back into me that I felt leave back in 2018 when my depression started. I always felt that something was off from that day, something was different, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. And now, after doing all this work, I can quite clearly see that there was a part of me that I was pushing away, didn't want, and my soul clearly didn't see my body fit for all of it. So it removed itself, and I don't have no idea where it went for 3.5 years. But when it did come back in, I could just feel this energy. We were actually on FaceTime together, and I could feel this energy building around me, and it came up into my body and started unifying together, and entered this truly blissful ecstasy, like loving state of consciousness that I've never, like on that level, never experienced. The only place that I could relate it to was using MDMA in my 20s, achieving ecstasy, but through a substance. While I can't discredit those experiences, this one was entirely from within, and entirely me that was doing all the work. So that was a major one. When it came back into me, I was having visions after that of exactly what it was, and a man who I spoke to in Peru, who was holding my hands and talking about like fragments of souls leaving, and I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting, kind of feels like that's what's gone on with me. And then my soul or my heart took me to this image of the time when I really fell into a depression and it left. And so it really hit me, and it hit me hard, and it made me feel a lot of relief and joy and pain all at once in one very strange bubble. But that was definitely the most powerful, psychedelic, magical, mystical experience of my entire life.
With no psychedelics.
No, all thanks to this work. And it was only once I really had the ability to honestly ask my heart and say, like, hey, whatever it is that's coming up, can you please show me like this wound, this trauma? And only once I was I can only assume that I was in a place of unconditional love, because my heart was able to take me there. And I think I would only have been able to have gone there if I really was at this place of like, okay, whatever it is that I think that I've done as a child, or that I thought was wrong, like, I'm here to love that. And that's okay. And from that created the space to allow the light back in. So, yeah.
Thank you for that share. I witnessed it on FaceTime. And as he was getting his soul piece back, I just felt all this light energy, like even through the phone, like just, it was like all around me. And I was like, oh, he is experiencing something so phenomenal right now. And you were really changed after that. I feel like you really started really tapping into your power, because you created so much space. I mean, that thing was weighing you down, and so watching you transform and getting you back was pretty dope to watch, and very surreal. you mentioned a lot about this ecstasy and this bliss, and our society thinks that you need to take all of MDMA, you need to do K, you need to do shrooms to get this experience. But I think that's how powerful we are, is that we don't need anything external, that you can literally just tap into your heart energy, and then all of a sudden you're soaring through the universes. And for me too, I've had a meditation where I was so out of body, and I went somewhere and I came back and I was blissed out for 3 days and I wasn't on anything. And I think that is just, it's always like this little teaser, it's like every time we heal something, it's like this teaser into, who we really are exactly and what could be. And so that's why this work is so insane, because it's just you. It's just you. Rachel always says, if you're in the desert, I mean, think about you talk about this, Jesus, 40 days and 40 nights. It was just him. And when you tap into the power of you, it's game over. It's game, or you don't need anything else. And so I think for me, it was really insane to watch you experience that. And then to see you come out of that just like so much bigger. You know what I mean? Like, you just started having this resonance where it was just like uneffable with. That's how I started really seeing you transform, And so I'm 3 months behind you in this program, but it's exciting to have witnessed your journey. I've watched a lot of your classes and things like that. And so talk a little bit about what the experience has been like with Rachel and, your classmates, because you guys have really, all of you showed up so vulnerably. Everybody showed up like, I got a lot of wounds, and, you made it out, and it's been 6 months of just such beauty. Can you talk about the experience with the group and also being with Rachel all this time? Because, you study a lot, and there have been gurus and people you've looked up to, but something about this made you really take the leap of faith into like the next level. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you start the program, you start the class, and you're very nervous. You're very in your little bubble, and you don't know anyone. So it is a process of, meeting the other coaches, and you're meeting them only an hour and a half to 2 hours a week. Like getting to know them, but it's weird because you're getting to know them, but you're only getting to know their deepest, darkest wounds.
Right.
So it's this really strange, like mix of you're making these new bonds, making these new friendships, but you're getting straight in there. So I think
we skip the surface level. It's not what's your favorite color, it's what's your biggest wound.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
You go from like not knowing these people to then having to be open and comfortable enough to share the darkness that lives within you, right? And there's a beauty to that, because it really allows you to let go and get out of your own, your own story that you're telling yourself. And then obviously like seeing your stuff said in or reflected in other people, or when you share something and someone's like, yeah, I really suffer with that as well. You're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not that crazy, right? Or it in the vice versa way, like when someone is sharing and you can feel their pain. There's so much so many times that I've been in class with these other coaches and we're practicing, we're coaching each other. Sometimes Rachel's doing it and I'm dropping in and I'm feeling it, and I'm not exactly feeling them, but I'm just feeling the same wound that they've got. So I can empathize, but from a very like physical level. So sometimes even like today was our last class and I got 2 healings and I didn't even have to, like, it wasn't even to do with me. And that was because I could really, like, the stuff that was coming up for them, I was feeling it in me, and it was allowing me to go into myself and really get in there and work through some stuff. So, yeah, working as a group's been awesome. I've definitely made, a lot of bonds, and while they're only online, apart from us being able to meet up and stuff, but whilst most of the friendships you make are online, I'm sure at one stage in the future we'll all meet up. Yeah. So working with the group's been great. I'd highly recommend it for anyone, especially with healing. But one-on-one, I mean, that's what we're here as coaches to offer. So it's going to be a much more we did a 6-month course, which was awesome. But we're also doing a 6-month group course. So what we're offering as Mystical Life coaches for you guys, to anyone listening, is a one-on-one. And so this would be like 1 hour a week with a coach rather than one out, because my group was a group of like 10. So you're going in there and you're really only getting 20 minutes with the coach, which is Rachel.
Right.
So we're offering a much more intimate, much more intense kind of coaching experience, which I'm excited to be part of from the back end. And yeah, that's kind of like what I have to say about that. For Rachel, I think we all want we all dream of finding a guru, right? We all dream of finding that one teacher who can take us to the next place. But with gurus, there is this, at least I've experienced, there is this separation that you can often feel between you and them. It's the same thing that religion does with, trying to separate us from God and us from Jesus. And it's bullshit. And that's just the way that it is. And with Rachel, she really allows you to see and makes you feel that there is no difference between you and I. The difference between you and I is I have already walked these steps and you are now walking them.
Yes.
And that is the difference. And so finding a teacher who makes you feel like that really allows you to grow and allows you to blossom and just shows her authenticity in what she does. So for me, that's been like the main thing is her guidance in the fact that her showing that she's no different to us, because we're all the same, we're all one. Yeah, we do have our own unique gifts and powers, which as you heal more will open up more naturally, because as children we grow up in this particular world that doesn't allow us to understand our true power as spiritual beings. We're brought up in a world where westernized science has dominated the paradigm and the narrative, and so we're led to believe that 1 + 1 = 2, which it does, but there's a lot more going on. And the more and more you do this work, the more you open yourself to the possibilities that we are spirit and that everything is energy, which science now understands and tells us. But yeah, that's kind of like what I have to say about that. Yeah. Love Rachel.
Yeah. And we don't say that lightly. I think we've experienced a lot of different people and things like that. And here we are on this journey. What does it mean to you now that you're a coach, because, your old life up until 2 weeks ago was being a bartender, and you were really good at it. And it was your profession and on a high level. And now you are transitioning completely into a whole new career path that really lights you up inside. I think, the work that we do is of the light, and it changes. It really changes the way you look at your goals and the things that you're achieving, because it's bigger than just, let me check this off and let me check that off. What has it been like for you to leave this old life that you've lived for so long and stepping into this new life where you are really living, your passion and what your heart is asking you to really do?
Lovely. Well, so for the last 11 years, I've worked as a bartender. So I'll start my story there. And for the last kind of 5-6 years, I've been working for Ritz-Carlton and other really high-end luxury kind of hospitality groups. And I feel like it's trained me. It gave me a lot of life experience. It allowed me to really work on my communication skills and self-awareness and self-regulation. But after a while, especially as soon as I hit my depression was there to show me stuff, to start asking these deeper questions I've had since childhood that have been suppressed. I remember my first existential crisis question I had was around I think 7 or 8. And I remember calling up my mother and be like, Mom, I can't get these thoughts out of my head. I've realized that we're nothing. And, when we die, there's nothing. And so I suppressed all that. And when my depression came, all these questions started coming back. These questions eventually guided me to really asking, what am I doing here? And, what is the meaning of all this? What is the point of all this? And inevitably, it allowed me to start changing my life into more of an aligned place to doing something that really lights me up, something that I'm passionate about, something that gives me purpose, value, and meaning. And a couple of years ago, I really realized that I was really resonating with this healing journey. I wanted to become a coach, and fast forward to now, like here I am. So it means everything, because what I learned along my path is like, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of external things which can bring you happiness. And for me, this journey is exactly that. It's internal happiness. It's connecting to your inner self and asking, what do you want to do? And what I wanted to do in this chapter of my life was very clear, as I wanted to heal myself and then help others get there too. And so yeah, the journey getting here was part of it. But yeah, I'm so happy to be living a more aligned life. The last few years have been really tough, doing a job that didn't serve me, and I'm just so thrilled to be moving forward doing something that does. And you might be listening to this and thinking, oh well, I want to do this work, but I don't want to be a coach. Yeah, these things are separate. So like, the more healing that you do, the more that you will remove all the limiting beliefs, and the more that you'll get closer to who you are as a soul, as a spirit. And the closer you are to that, the closer you'll be to accessing states of love and joy and peace and happiness. And so the goal is, as you do this work, and the more that you do it, you become more clear on who you are and what you want and what lights you up. And the ultimate goal is to become so clear that you don't need anything. You don't even need a job, because you may just be happy. But now we live in this reality, and so we do need a job, we do need income, and it's fun to find something that you really enjoy and pour your life into. That way you're not going to work, you're just making love every day. If you change your whole attitude of, okay, I'm not doing this because I have to, I'm doing this because I love it. And then every day you're going into work and you're making love. You're making love in the form of, whether it's crafting a piece of clothing or a table or a chair, or whether it's writing, or whether it's coaching, or whether it's teaching kids to play soccer. I don't know, whatever it is. But finding that thing that you really enjoy. And for me, it was personal development and definitely exploring my more spiritual side. It's been a calling for me over the last few years. So I've been pulled closer and closer into this path repeatedly. And the more resistance I gave, the more that the universe would remind me, like, nope, don't go down that road. You can go down that road, but it'll be painful and there'll be a lot more suffering. But I know you've had a similar journey.
Yeah.
So do you want to share your story about that?
Yeah, I can relate to you, because I think both of you and I have had jobs where you just have to understand energy and people. And for me, being an on-camera interviewer, it's just constantly just figuring someone out in like 10 seconds, and then being able to carry a conversation with them, being able to open them up. So I feel like we've just been in boot camp for the last 11, 12, 13 years. And now all of that is going to help so immensely, in this one-on-one coaching. And the one-on-one coaching is just the beginning for us. I think that there's so much more to discover and so much more to be. And the mission is just beginning. And so for me, I totally agree with you. I've only lived my life with following what fuels me. It's the only way I know how to be. And this work fuels me on a whole different level. Like you, I've been on this personal development journey now for 3 years, and it has been the wildest ride. And to know that this is just the beginning of it is just, it's insane. Guys, Rachel always talks about, you can heal in this life, but you'll never stop evolving. The evolution of the heights you can reach in this life. Why stop at level 3 if you can go to level 3 million? And so for me, I know that this is the beginning of me reaching level 3 million and beyond. And that's why this work means so much to me. That's why I pulled the trigger on becoming a coach. I'm sure that's the reason why you did it too. And the feelings that you and I get when we watch people heal, when we are helping others, is it's past the ego. It really feels like, for me, past the ego, because I'm really feeling into the energy of love and oneness. And when you're in that energy, it's like, There's no rules anymore. It's just this vibration that we're in. And to have been in that vibration, it's not every day. But I think that's the beauty of it. Because if you were always living in that blissful, like high vibrational state, you can never really be in gratitude for that feeling and that emotion. And so, like you, I know that this is the beginning of everything. And our souls found our way here. We've been through a lot. Danny got depressed at 18. I was depressed as soon as I was born. So clearly our souls chose, to have these lessons for a huge reason. And now I don't see depression as my Achilles heel. I see my depression as, wow, that's the thing that got me to the other side, because it was through the darkness that I found my truest self. And it is unexplainable. I wouldn't do these last 3 years again, because it was a lot. But I look back on the last 3 years and I go, damn, you really did that. You really did that.
Yeah. Depression, exactly. Like depression is this nudge.
Yes.
It's a nudge. It's
Yes.
actually not a nudge. It's a kick in the face.
It's
kicking you in the face, and it's saying
uppercut right into your
something is not right in your life.
Yes.
You need to look at it and you need to change something.
Yes.
Because this isn't what like life isn't supposed to be this hard. You're not supposed to suffer.
Yes.
Suffering is something that we experience in this life when we're holding on to things that we don't need to.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's a kick in the face. It's there to guide you back to love.
Mm-hmm.
It's there to wake you up,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's there to spin you around, make you question everything, and awaken you to the potential that you actually are. Because that's what depression did for me, is it really took me to the depths. And then, it really allowed me to look at people in a different way when I'd see people suffering. Instead of me just being like, oh, well, they're having a bad day. It's, man, I remember feeling like that. That sucks. They're having a bad day, and I send them my love, and I hope they're like doing better. When you pull up at a parking lot and the parking attendant's pissed at you for whatever reason, instead of getting pissed back, you're like, man, you must be having a bad day, man. Everything's at home,
Yes.
and the subtle shifts from just going from like understanding what anxiety, depression, these kind of things we deem in society as negative and we don't want to feel. As soon as we spin them on the head and start looking at them as, oh, this is a chance for growth. This is a chance for can't put it in my hair. This is a chance for growth, and this is a chance to just bring me back to my whole, to bring me back to myself. And I never realized how far off path I'd got until I had gone off the path, swerved, flipped my truck, span around, rolled around in the ditch, and then was knocked unconscious and left there for a few days. I don't mean that in a literal sense. I mean that in like a metaphor. But like, sometimes we have to go off path. Sometimes it is necessary for us to slip into the darkness and really experience these negative sides of suffering to wake us up. And it's only from that place that we really are asked, like, how strong are you? Are you ready to do this work? Because there's a lot of people I talk to out there that, I tell them what work I'm doing. I'm like, oh, doing this mystical like life stuff. It's all about going into your pain. And they're like, oh, sign me up. And then when we actually start talking about it, it's like, no, you actually have to be ready to face every part of your darkest self, every part of your shadow, every part of the things that you've been suppressing. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, Or, oh, I'm not willing to pay that much. It's like, oh, okay, so you don't value your healing that much yet. That's fair enough. I understand that. When you get there, call me, because I've got there and I know how much it sucks, and I know how much I wanted to pay just to get myself out of it. But at the end of the day, it takes devotion every day. You got to drop into your heart every night, every day. And then the willingness to go into the pain, the willingness to open yourself to love, to pain, to whatever it is that yourself is showing you. And they're the two tenets that Rachel always talks about: willingness and devotion.
Yeah, I experienced something really traumatic in my early 20s that really, I denounced source and God. I said, how could you possibly exist if this is what I experienced? You don't. And so I cut myself off from the divine for almost 8 years. And I'll tell you, that whole time I wasn't here. I don't even know where I was. And it was only through the dark night of the soul. It was only when I was on my knees and nothing worked. No, I had nothing. The world didn't give me anything. And when I started going in, I reconnected back with source, spirit, creator, love, because I had to go so far to come back and find it on my own. So growing up really religious and Christian, it's shoved down your throat. It's shoved down your throat. So if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell. If you don't believe in Jesus, you're a bad person. If you don't believe in Jesus, all these things are going to happen to you. And it never gave me the space to be like, well, what does Jesus mean to me? And what does Jesus represent to me? And why was he here? And what was he here to do? And what is the lesson that he came here with? And it wasn't until I started finding myself that Jesus took on a whole different meaning, that source and creator and divinity. I started to understand these terms. And so I think for me, it's like you really see all the experiences. You think they're so bad. They're so awful. Why is this happening to me? We fall into victim consciousness, like, woe is me, look at me. And the moment you go, no, that's the stepping stone into coming back into my power, then the whole game shifts. And then you get triggered and you go, thank you, this shit's gonna hurt, but let's go into it. And that's what individual evolution is. And then as you evolve individually, look at the world, look what happens to the collective, look at the people around you. I think that's why this work means so much to us.
Yeah, you brought something up there I wanted to touch on. I heard, as you said that, a memory came back. And I worked, so we learned religion. We call it RE, religious education, in school. I grew up in the UK, and I actually grew up in a very religious hotspot. So in my little town, there's something called Battersea Hall. People come from all around Europe to study the Bible. Wow. Because back in the day, there was it's called Battersea Priory. Anyone can Google it. But there was this like religious building where monks would go and study the Bible, like you see in the films, and burnt down during Henry VIII. And so the whole area had this huge like religious background, and so it was brought into our schooling a lot, even though religion isn't massively intertwined into British schooling systems. Because of the location of ours. It was a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere. We had this like all these people studying the Bible, so they used to come in and teach us, and I would actually go for extra like lessons. I would go over and drink hot chocolate, because this was when I was like 11, 12, something like that. I drink hot chocolate with the guys who were studying, and they would for free, they would tutor us kind of on. Wow. We'd sit around in a circle. It was me, this other kid, and this one guy, which I won't say any names to keep confidentiality. But there's one guy, and sometimes they'd switch out who was teaching and stuff, and they would go around and we'd talk about the Bible. And I remember asking this one question. I was so caught up on it, and I was like, if God exists, how come there's so much suffering in the world? And they couldn't answer the question. And that was the last time I went to, the studies thing, because I was like, you can't, like, I was like, I'm open to this. I'm coming to these extra lessons and I want to learn about God. I was like, but if God exists, why is there so much suffering? And like that, I think their answer was something along the lines of, well, that's because they're out of touch with God. And I was like, it doesn't quite answer like what I was really feeling. And I think that day I kind of like put religion and spirituality on a backseat. I didn't cut it off completely. It wasn't gone out of my life. I always believed, when I was a kid, I remember having these conversations. Like, I always believed in higher power. And the way I would say it was like, okay, do you believe in love? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Can you show me what love is? Yes or no? No. Okay. Can you touch it? No. But it exists. Yeah. So how do you know God doesn't exist? And I used to say that all the time. That was the conversations I had as a kid. So I think from a young understanding, I knew intuitively that God was some kind of love. Wow. And I always said I believe in something, but I don't really know what it is. Sure. And fast forward to the last 3 years, I had a deep dive into like, okay, well, what is God? What is all this, that everyone's talking about? And I've had a bunch of interesting encounters with some extremely religious Christians over the last few years. And they always want me to be Christian, but I'm pretty happy with just being spiritual and believing in the interconnectedness of everything, and understanding that we're all one, and I don't need like this framework, and that my personal understanding of spirituality and religion is just to go inside and feel love and feel connection to nature, connection to spirit, feel the energies of things. And that's completely enough for me. I don't want to say enough because I'm still interested in diving deeper, but I don't feel the need to be putting things in boxes is how I kind of like review religion. But it's interesting that you bring up, because I know you had a very religious upbringing. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah.
Cool.
My mother is a pastor's kid. My mother grew up I was at church Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I played the drums. Every Bible study session, I was there. I went to every retreat. I saw people speaking in tongues. I saw people being saved by Jesus. I've seen it all. I've experienced it all. And that whole time, I knew something was off. I was just like, something about this just doesn't hit it all the way for me. But, I'm not supposed to question that. So I just accepted it. So I would do the things of like, oh, I accept Jesus as my savior. When you think about that, like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? And it was this constant guilt or shame or fear that like Jesus was mad at me, or like Jesus didn't accept me, or like I need to go somewhere like to ask for forgiveness, right? Like even priests, like in Catholicism, it's like, you can't talk to God unless you talk through me. And that the concept of that is complete separation. So I think that's why I never connected with source, because I was just constantly being separated, constantly being like, no, you go over there and he's over here. It's like, oh, I can't go near. No, you can't go near him. And so I think that's why my depression and my anxiety was so intense for me, because I felt like I didn't have anywhere to lean on. I didn't have because religion was so forced down on me, I didn't find comfort there. So I was always lost. I was always just trying. I literally feel like for the first 32 years of my life till I woke up, I was just scraping by. Like I was just waiting for life to end. And like every year that would come along, be like, oh, I made it another year. And now in this awakening, I look forward to every year. I know the richness that my life is entering. And now the wisdom, the love, it never ends. And I'm constantly blown away by this journey. And I look at a lot of my Christian friends and my Catholic friends, and I used to come from a very big place of judgment. Like when I started first going through this journey, I was like, you guys don't know anything and y'all are all wrong, right? We love this like right or wrong thing. But I think at the core of it, what are we all searching for, right? We're all searching for the same thing. That's why people get so into Jesus or so into the church and all of these things, because we're all trying to find acceptance and love within ourselves. And so I come from a place of love now. Like my friends go to a church where like, if you're gay, you can attend, but you can't become a member. I tell this story a lot because I don't understand that, because that to me is not what God is. God is love. God don't care about what you look like, if you're fat, what skin color, like that doesn't make sense to me, especially not who you love. And so for me, I know that I've always had this side of me that questioned these things, but I was never allowed to question it. And it wasn't until I had my awakening that I began to question it. And I lost a lot of people in my life, a lot of people who could not accept this new, that I was cracking open this box that we were living in for so long. And so for me, being spiritual is just, I hate the word spiritual too, because when you think spiritual, immediately you put that in a box. But until you understand what this spiritual path means for you, you cannot truly grasp the infiniteness. Infiniteness, is that a word? Sure. Of this journey that we're on. And it's so beautiful and it's so mind-blowing that our souls chose this mission and this life. I was telling him I would just watch this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it's basically about how there's a billion versions of us. We're existing as all different kinds of things, and to be in this version and be right here, to know that I'm here as a worker of the light, is just, it's bigger than I think any of the other lives that I'm existing out there. And so I'm just really humbled and grateful, and I'm proud of you. You are officially a coach. You are going to be doing so much beautiful healing work along with all of the other coaches in your class. And so shout out to you. Is there anything you want to say before we end this episode?
Yeah, something that you brought up there that I want to just mention, because you can do this work and you cannot you cannot be spiritual at all.
Yes.
You don't have to have any sort of interest in being spiritual. The benefits that come through this work are
Yes.
in your life, and spirituality pretty much is an automatic byproduct of this work. You'll start it, and the more and more that you start exploring the inner environment of yourself, that you'll start to realize, well, there is way much more going on right now inside of me than I ever had a clue. So you don't, like, just because we're talking about this now, you don't, like, I'm a very skeptical person. And so experiencing what I've experienced has really allowed me to, as the reason why I told the stories, the two stories at the beginning in that order, is like the first one allowed me to open myself to something, and then the second one, because I already had that opening, because I already had that experience, I was open enough to fully surrender. And it's only in that state that really the mystical and magical and psychedelic experiences can happen, from what I've learned anyway. When we're very closed off, they tend to not, you can't get anything because you're closed. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you're not exactly on the path, as we call it, if you're not on the path yet, that's okay. Just come to MSU and start deprogramming all the crap that you accumulated over the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, however old you're doing this, and start working on your triggers and becoming more peaceful. And even if you didn't get any sort of spiritual awakening from this process, or you haven't had one and you don't intend to have one, just deprogramming yourself and unplugging yourself out of all the stuff that's brainwashing you, it will change your life for the better. Because there's a lot of things out there. I mean, marketing, the whole thing of marketing is literally created to make you behave in a certain way. So imagine if you had enough consciousness that you could live your own life and not worry about, another business influencing, or government, or however you want to look at this, influencing the way that you think, feel, act, behave. And you get to just constantly come back to you, So this work doesn't have to be spiritual, but it is a byproduct of it. I want to be clear with that. And if you do start this journey, you'll notice that the more open you become to yourself, and the less judgment you're casting out, the more open you'll be to different concepts, and things will start coming in, and you will awaken.
Two last things I came up with that is, I told you this example of, you're in a high school hallway and you're trying to get out to the other side, but there's all this stuff that's in the hallway. Through this work, you clear the hallway and then you get to the other side. And that's the beauty of it. Second thing, you really learn to be the alchemist that you are through this program. You don't need to be on this path at all. You can alchemize anything into higher frequencies. And so if this is calling you, jump, leap, swim, bop, whatever you got to do. I don't know. Whatever you got to do.
We're going to be bopping later.
Whatever you got to do to get into this work, mastersofselfuniversity.com. Danny is officially a coach. If you love Danny, you can work with him, set up a free consultation. You will not regret it. And all the things that are going to block you, if you're really wanting this and you're letting money, baby, come into the program, because you need to heal that. You need to heal that scarcity.
I'll just say, jump on I think there's probably about 12, 13, 14 certified coaches right now. So jump on, check out our bios if you want. There's a free consultation, so you can just jump on and have a chat with us and just say what's up. Even just jump on, say what's up, say hey. Just wanted to see what it's all about. We're both on Instagram. Ellie's going to be graduating in about 3 months, which is not going to be from now, because this is going to come out.
Sure. So
Yeah.
sooner.
So sooner rather than later.
Yes.
But we're both on Instagram. Hit us up. Any questions around, our journey and healing and your journey, just throw them at us. We're out here to serve. We're out here to contribute. We're out here to heal, to help you heal. We're not doing any of the healing.
No.
That's all you.
Yes.
So come on board.
Yes.
And if not, you listen to this, I wish you all the best of luck in your healing journey, because we're all in this together.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Share this episode, subscribe, leave us a comment, leave us a rating, and check out masterselfuniversity.com. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.